Hello, Meow Mentors. It's Cat Lady Justin, and this is the Kitty Boss, where we pick, pamper, and protect your practically perfect pussycat for a lifetime of unconditional love. Today, as we're recording this, it's our holiday special because it's that time of year. But this is something that's relevant all year long, so stay tuned no matter when you're listening to it. But first, let me bring in Dr. Rachel Geller because we love to catch up every single month. So, Dr. Rachel, how are you? And hopefully you're doing well.
I'm doing well. Thank you for asking. And I hope you and yours are doing well as well.
Yes, we are. We have some kitty plans for the holidays. So that's going to be great. But we're going to start, before we get into the fun stuff, on a serious topic. We're going to start on a serious note because there is something called Feline Non-Recognition Syndrome. And it is something that my cats struggle with every time they go to the vet. And so today we're going to talk about what it is, what to do about it, and meet one of the advocates and experts in this particular condition and see what he recommends, and also hear a bit about his story and struggles to get this recognized in his local area. So without further ado, let's welcome Michael. Michael, hello. Welcome to the show. I did a quick intro about feline non-recognition syndrome and all of that. But the first and foremost, I guess it would be great to find out from you, number one, what is it? How do you define it? But number two, how did you become involved in this and why?
So I think for me, having grown up watching shows about cats in Africa, the best way I can relate it to somebody is, why do these cats walk around Africa scent marking everywhere? And there's a big reason for it. Cats, unlike dogs, recognize each other based on scent. And what feline non-recognition aggression really is, it happens most often when one cat goes to the vet and another cat stays home. And the reason that happens is the cat that goes to the vet comes back smelling different. It could be because of the medication it got. It could be because the room that the cat was in was just prior in the previous exam was a smelly dog. It can be the hands from the people who touched the cat. It can be a lot of reasons. And so then that cat comes home and the cat that stayed home doesn't recognize that cat anymore. And I mean, this can happen when one cat goes to the groomer. My wife and I had never heard of this before. And at various parts of our lives, we had both had cats. And we are now a year out. Our situation happened on November 30th, just after Thanksgiving in the United States. Not this year, last year. And when we brought the one cat that went to the vet, who was a bit constipated and drooling, we brought that cat home, opened the carrier, let that cat out, and all of a sudden we were transformed into Africa. We had never seen anything like it. Our two cats are Bengals. They're athletic. The one cat that stayed home went after that other cat that had gone to the vet like nothing I had ever seen before. Now, we had the cat that went to the vet did not go to our normal vet, who is a fear-free certified cat-only vet. They could not see us on that Friday afternoon. We had no warning about feline non-recognition aggression. Well, fast forward, it took us 9 months to get these cats back together again. It took $6,500. It took Prozac for both cats. And they were tolerable. I mean, they were actually good with each other after about 7 months. But based on the advice of a behaviorist vet that we had here in Arizona, she actually left her practice. And so when we went to inquire if we could take the Prozac off early, the office said, no, stick to the plan unless you want to come in, and we didn't want to start the trauma all over again. So anyway, the thing is, it's such a simple thing for a vet to do, which is give an oral warning. Better yet, give a paper warning. So what I have done is I have collected a lot of materials, including some of Dr. Geller's materials, written materials, videos, and it's all on this website that's referenced under my name, Feline Non-Recognition Aggression.com. There are instructions for vets that they could use, handouts. I mean, there's no reason that they couldn't print their bill with this on the back of their bill. It's really easy with technology. With the way, at least in the United States, most people do vet scheduling now, you get an email. They could say on that email, if you're bringing one cat in a multiple cat household to the vet, you need to be aware of this. And honestly, had we been given any instruction or know what I know now, I just wouldn't have let the one cat out of the carrier. We would have done a slow introduction. I would have, well, first of all, I would have let the cats clean itself, let all the smells wear off, probably not even let them see each other or be near each other for at least overnight, and then see what their reaction would have been. And, you know, let me turn this over, because this is Dr. Geller's real area of expertise. Why don't you for a couple minutes on?
Well, that's a good point. But I just wanted, before we bring Dr. Geller in, to say that luckily Emily and Charlotte never went through 9 months of this, but it's a good week or two of problems. What I do now, what I discovered works for Emily, because Emily's the one that suffers from this. Charlotte has she's just this fluffy long hair thing that just looks like, what's going on?
Right.
You know, why are you hating on me? Whereas Emily is sitting there growling and hissing. It's like this panther has invaded the house. But like, I give her some gabapentin. The vet prescribes that medication, and that seems to sedate her enough to get this, you know, vet trip done without too much calamity. There's still some. It doesn't eliminate it completely, but it does contain it so that I don't then go through like 2 weeks of, you know, conflicts between the cats. They don't hurt each other, but it's quite distressing when they don't get along at all, even to the littlest bit. So that's what I do. So, and it's a thing that started not right away when I got Charlotte. So that's what's interesting as well. It just kind of came about at some point as Emily got older, that all of a sudden, and it's the same vet. So there's been no changes in the vet, no changes in anything really, other than all of a sudden Emily decided this is no good. I don't know this other cat. As a result of the vet trip. Maybe they changed cleaning products or something that they use there, but there's nothing that I did differently from that perspective. So that was quite a shock, and it is true. There should be some kind of warning, not to freak people out, but to tell them, look, if your cat is part of a multi-cat household or multi-pet household, be forewarned. Because there is a chance of FNRA or FNRS. There is a chance, and you may want to take some precautions, or call us if it happens, or something like that. Some kind of disclaimer or warning or something like that. So let's get Dr. Rachel's opinions and expertise on this. But I wanted to, if you could start by answering this question, which is like a burning question that I've had for a while, is could feline non-recognition aggression be directed at a human? Because that's not happened to me. It's like Emily doesn't non-recognize me, but I'm wondering, could it then be directed at their owner or their person?
So I have had that happen before with people who are on chemotherapy, or, you know, using some type of new medication or drug to fight some type of a disease, and their cats don't recognize them anymore. So it is possible for a human to have her scent changed as well, and then your cat not recognize you. And I will say, as a cat behaviorist, I get this inquiry at least 1 to 2 times a week, where someone has brought their cat to the vet, to the groomer. Some people go away on vacation and one cat's like okay in the home, but maybe there's another cat who's not. So one cat is boarded or stays at the grandparents' house or something like that. And so there's several scenarios in addition to going to the veterinarian where this can happen. So cats recognize each other by scent. So the cat comes back home and the returning cat, smells different, whether it's medication, the other cats, the other animals, alcohol, maybe there's a cone on their head. It could be all kinds of different things. And the home cat says, this cat looks like my buddy, but this cat does not smell at all like my buddy. And so the cat's danger signals go up because cats are very territorial and they think there's a stranger on their territory. And they can get very aggressive around this whole issue of not recognizing the returning cat, needing to stand their ground on their territory, and absolutely, fur can go flying. And as awful as Michael's case is, I've had people where it's taken 2 years to resolve this issue. And it's very, very distressing for the cat owner to watch their companion cats who, either loved each other or just tolerated each other really turn on each other so violently. And I do think like a little one pager is a great idea. You always err on the side of caution and assume that it could happen, because it's always easier to err on the side of caution and proceed with a reintroduction a little more quickly than to, have all this fur flying and aggression, have to walk it back. But a lot of times for many cats, all they need to do is, in that carrier, go directly into what I call a sanctuary room, make sure it has a solid door, close the door behind you, let out the cat. And often for most cats, a little bit of scent swapping and letting that scent dissipate is all it takes. So you could take a damp towel, rub the home cat, then rub the returning cat with that same towel, then go back out of the room, rub yourself with that same towel, go back and rub down the cat in the sanctuary room. So you want that returning cat to now smell like the household again, the cats that were stayed home, and usually with a damp towel, if you do this a few times during the day, a couple of days of this, the cats will be okay. But some cats do need a complete reintroduction, starting off, with that whole process of incrementally getting the cats to see each other, to smell each other, to eat near each other, etc. But it's so important to know that ahead of time, because this process is not that difficult, and it really saves a lot of distress. And moreover, it keeps cats in their homes, because I have had clients where, after a few years, maybe, after a few months, they feel really hopeless that we're not going to get these cats back together again. And I have had clients who just decided, sadly, to surrender one of their cats. And that's the last thing we want to happen. So my basic rule as a cat behaviorist is err on the side of caution, because I always want to do no harm. So you can never harm a cat by being a little more conservative and going through steps that, maybe that particular cat doesn't need the necessary steps, but you don't know. So go through the steps, make sure everything is okay. Worst case scenario, one cat spent an extra day or so in a room, right? But in your house, this is not a huge big deal. The cat's being well taken care of. The cat is fed. The cat has shelter. Don't feel bad about keeping the cat in a room for a couple of days, because it can really ward off a horrible experience. So I feel very strongly about this issue, because it's preventable, and it's a matter of, educating the public and hopefully getting the vets on our side as well.
Yeah, and what if you have 2 cats? Because I take my cats together to the vet, so they go 2 at a time. They don't go separately. So for their annual checkup and stuff. So what if both of them have gone to the vet?
I would err on the side of caution. Now, your own cats. So, most people have some idea how their cats are going to act once they've done it once. So I always say, do the whole process that first time you go to the vet, but you can tell as you go through that process, like, could I have gone a little quicker? Do I need to go a little slower, and take it from there? So if they both go to the vet, it's still very possible that they will not recognize each other, even though they still might have both have the same scent on them. But, just like people, every single cat is different. Some people handle change and unpredictability and difference in the routine. We all handle those things differently, right? Like some people really hate change, and some people like to wear perfume, and their scent's a little different, but other people, scented products really bother them. So just like people, cats are all very individual with how they handle this change. Between my two current cats, they couldn't care less. One cat comes back from the vet, it's like,
No
oh,
big deal.
right. Oh, Fluffy's home. When's lunch? I mean, they couldn't care less. But some cats really, really care. So assume your cats will care, because again, we always want to do no harm.
Yeah, that's a good point. And Michael, you brought something up in the little chat message. You said that the returning cat, the new smells could trigger fear, which is a good point. Non-recognition, fear, whatever. But then you said we broke up two big fights, so there's a risk of injury to humans. So what I was asking Dr. Rachel is, can the cat have non-recognition of their owner, of you? And the answer is yeah. The cat could hiss at you and not recognize you. But it's a good point that you bring up, that actually, if you've got a pair of cats or more or whatever that are fighting each other, and you've got to go and break up this fight, well, there's a risk to you. Even if they still recognize and love you, you still might get caught in the crossfire.
Absolutely. Yeah. And when cats are afraid, whether it's at the vet or home, they often expel distress signals through their anal glands, or they will express their anal sacs without meaning to do so. And that's a sign to another cat of great danger, of great stress. So that's another thing that can happen, when you bring the returning cat home.
Mm-hmm. So in our case, there's two things we're never going to forget. My wife will tell anyone that she's never screamed so loud, even in childbirth. And the second thing for me is, on the one I broke up, I was still literally shaking 4 hours later. I looked at my hand and I was like, I can't believe I'm still shaking. And so the reason I think that this is really important, you guys have all touched on it, but let me be really clear about it. It's not the fact that it can be mitigated. It's the fact that even the existence of it in a small amount creates a lot of stress for the two cats or more cats, and the stress on the people.
Yes.
And so when you balance that, in the do no harm, it's so easy. We're not asking vets to go buy an expensive, X-ray machine. It's just a piece of paper or a link in an email, or worse, the one I don't love is they just tell you and people don't hear it because they're just getting their cat back. I prefer something more tangible.
Even the pet portal. So many veterinarians now have the pet portal where they communicate, via their own website. I mean, there's so many places they could have this information there.
So, and I've collected a lot of material at Feline Non-Recognition Aggression.com, and it's available for anybody. And I've also started, there's two other things with respect to vets I'd like to mention. One is that I have a draft letter on there. If your vet's not telling people, I would love people to just send their vet an email and say, please start doing this. It's the right thing to do. The second thing I've learned from this experience, I call have a pet, know your vet. Make sure your vet is qualified, especially for cats, especially if you've moved and you're starting at a new vet. Every state in the United States. You can look up and see if the vets had complaints against it. And the other thing that was really important, which would have affected us, is have an emergency vet in mind, because your vet isn't going to be available all the time. And that's what happened to us. Our vet wasn't available. And by the way, when we take both the cats to the vet, which we've done, except for this time, no problem. They're fine with each other. You just got to do a little planning. You got to vet your vet, as I call it.
Yeah, and that makes sense because and what Dr. Rachel was saying is kind of a reminder here. Like, every cat's different. They're all very individual. Your cats, when you take them as a pair together, they're fine. Mine, no. I mean, one of them is fine, but the other one is not fine. With Emily is really grumpy and not nice. So, and even with the gabapentin that I give them, because I give them that little drug and that just to Emily to calm her down, because otherwise it's so distressing. It's not just, it's like a level, like I think she's going to have a heart attack or something. She's really panicking. I'm lucky in the sense that she doesn't get aggressive towards me, doesn't scratch and bite me. I can get her in the carrier and all that kind of stuff. That I can do. But what I find like stressful is when I see her in that mode and she's suffering. And so that's why, I don't like doing it, but it's only once a year, one little pill a year. I give her that drug to calm her down, so she's not in this state of panic, which is like upsetting to me, because I don't want my cat to suffer at all. So,
yeah.
so
I, as of cat behaviors, I have zero problem with giving cats medication to help with these kind of situations. I mean, plenty of people do the unconscious sedation, or whatever it's called, the conscious sedation, when they go to the dentist or take anti-anxiety medications or whatever it is,
for people, yeah,
stressful situation, right? So I find that, if your cat really responds well to anti-anxiety medication such as gabapentin, absolutely, I think it's a great idea, and it's another tool that cat owners do have. And the great thing about gabapentin is it really isn't sedating; it makes the cat so she's not reactive to stimuli.
Yeah.
So
I mean, Michael's asking a good question in the chat. He's like, am I giving it to her early enough? And have I tried giving it to both of them so there's no fear on both? So the second question is, I haven't tried giving it to both of them because Emily is the one in distress. But now that you bring it up, maybe Emily is reacting to the fear smell coming off of Charlotte. So maybe I don't even need to give it to Emily. Maybe I need to give it to Charlotte, and then do you know what I mean? And Charlotte won't have that non-recognition.
Yourself too, Justin.
Yeah, I'll take one. Yeah. So maybe, I will ask the vet next time. It's next year now, because they've gone for this year. So next year I'll ask for another pill, so I can pop it in both of them. Yeah. As far as giving it to her early enough, I've tried that. So with Emily, and this is not advice for anyone, because again, every cat's different in how they react to this. Yes. But for Emily specifically, when I tried giving it to her early, like it says on the package, basically, what ends up happening is, I gave her the pill and she knows something's up. So it hasn't kicked in yet, but she's in distress and she runs and hides under the bed, and I can't get her into the carrier because she just doesn't hide. I had to cancel.
Right under the bed, like in the middle, right?
Like right where I can't get it, because the king size bed, and there's just no access, and then she'll move around, so I can't get her. But like what happened, so when that happened, I actually had to take Charlotte alone to the vet, reschedule a second appointment to go and take Emily in separately on another time. So that was a lot. When I give it to her right before sticking her in the carrier, that works, because then she takes it, she's in the she's not in distress, she's in the carrier, and then she starts to get agitated, but then the medication kicks in relatively quickly, and she's not that agitated anymore.
So Justin, you bring up a really good point, because I advise all of my clients. So if anyone's listening to this and they're thinking, oh, that gabapentin idea sounds terrific, I'm going to try it. I advise all of my clients to do what I call a dry run first. Give the gabapentin to your cat on a day you're not going to the vet, so you can see how long it takes to kick in, how long it lasts, and how much you need to give your cat. Because I have found through my own practice and through my clients that the dose of gabapentin can vary widely from cat to cat in terms of how much you need, how long you need to give it to your cat before, and so forth. So I have a cat right now that in order for the gabapentin to take effect and for her to be, a little marshmallow when I take her to the veterinarian rather than Cujo, I have to give it to her 5 hours before, and I have to give her more than what the package suggested, in working with my vet. So just her metabolism, she's a little bit overweight. I'm not sure if that contributes or not, but and she also has arthritis. So I don't know how, but point being, this particular cat, the gabapentin has to kick in 5 hours first. If I hadn't done a dry run, I would have given it to her according to the instructions, which are like 45 minutes to an hour with a stressful event, and she would have still been terrified. I've had other cats where it's 45 minutes. So, and nothing, it has really nothing to do with size or age. It's all over the place. So do a dry run when you get that prescription, so you know exactly what to expect, how long it takes effect to get into the bloodstream, how long it's going to last, because some cats might need like a booster. So yeah, it's a really important piece of that whole medication thing. Like, just like us, we all react differently to medication. Some of us need lower doses, some of us need higher doses to get the same effect. So our cats have the same issues.
Let me just say one thing here, because you have both touched on this as well. What we are talking about here is in the best interests of vets. So if you're talking to vets, the reason being is people don't like taking their cats to the vet. So if they don't have to worry about feline non-recognition aggression, and Justin, your case is perfect, because even your case, I don't want to put up with this for 2 weeks. Oh my gosh, this is going to be painful. I think I'll just skip my appointment this year. So if vets would actually help people manage feline non-recognition aggression, they'd get more business.
They would. They would. That's true.
Happier and healthier. Yes.
So it's a financially, viable option for vets to adopt this. Let's warn people about it. And here's a few things and tips that you can do. One of them is, I can prescribe you this stuff. So I think that's a very, very good point.
Yeah.
So is there anything else that we want to talk about this feline non-recognition thing? Or do you want to tell us a little bit about what you've recently gone through in trying to get some, let's say, legislation or ordinances, in trying to get something done at a higher level so that it becomes a requirement for vets to do something about it in your state?
Being on podcasts like this, which is now my second one, this helps a lot. But at least in the United States, every state has its own structure of how veterinarians are regulated. In my state, I spoke with the Arizona Veterinarian Board, and they said that really the only effective way you can do anything is bring a complaint against the vet. I was reluctant to do that, and I asked the vet to talk to me numerous times, and they refused. And once they refused over and over again, I just said, okay, we're going to do this and we're going to make it public. And so this has been going on for quite a while now. I am at the point where next month, even though this matter has struggled a bit, the actual veterinarian board, it's past the investigative area, is going to hold what they call an informal interview with the vet. And I will be there as the complainant. And my number one goal, the vet, by the way, broke a number of other rules in Arizona. I figured out those are secondary for me. What I am interested in getting this vet board to do is rule that this instruction should have been given And if they do, I am confident that people like yourself, Justin, Dr. Geller, and others will get the word out, and this will start to spread to other countries, other states in the US, and we can actually get some momentum here to make this a reality. So it's, there's no second thought about doing this. It just becomes a normal part of practice. That's my goal. And I am waiting for the final resolution here before I start promoting Feline Non-Recognition Aggression.com. But I do intend to do that, though, because I think education of the public is, that's part of it. The more cat owners that know, the better off we are.
For sure. And do you have any idea about how prevalent it is, like how widespread this is? Because obviously some cats don't have this, don't suffer from it. So is there any information on that?
I'm not aware of any statistics on it, but I can tell you, if you go and post on a cat forum, like a Facebook cat forum, or you go and post on Reddit, you're going to get lots of people who are going to say, oh yeah, that happens to me. Here's what I do about it. I mean, I think, Dr. Geller has a point. If she's getting a couple calls a week,
that's right. So I'm just one cat behaviorist. I do approximately 900 to 1,000 cases per year. And so I get a certain amount of emails every single week. And out of those, I get at least, I would say like 2 emails a week about,
Yeah, so that's an indication of.
That's an indication that I think, it's not as common a problem as, litter box problems, which I get several emails about that a day, but it's definitely a common enough problem. I think it's possible the people are suffering from this and may not even know what it is, or there's such a thing, so they're not even reaching out to me. But if you think about just one person who runs a nonprofit, so I'm not advertising what I do, right? And I'm getting a couple of inquiries about this every single week. I think it doesn't take too much inference to realize that this is a pretty common problem. And unlike a lot of cat behavior problems, this one is possible to foresee and prevent. So I think it's a little bit different than some other cat behavior problems that I receive, where this one is preventable with, as long as you know about it and you prepare accordingly.
Yeah.
I think from my experience, if you just ask your friends, do you have more than one cat? And the friends with more than one cat, probably a few of them, more than half have seen this on some level or not. And one of my friends that I asked, the answer that came back was very sad. The cats never got back together till one died.
Yep.
And then one died. They never made up.
That
I can't imagine the stress must have added or expedited the one cat's death.
Well, the thing too about cats, and this is why so many people really need to do a true reintroduction, which I know, Michael, I sent you my video, is that once they get into a cycle, it is very hard for cats to get themselves back out of that cycle again. They get into a destructive cycle and they cannot stop that cycle from reoccurring. They just don't seem to have that ability. So they really need us to provide that structured intervention. So it's something that if you don't know how to do a proper reintroduction, or even know that this is something that you might need to do, even if you don't even realize you need to separate the cats, yes, indeed, this can lead to a person surrendering a cat. And imagine how heartbreaking that is for all involved.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And we're sending a cat to shelters that are already overcrowded for a behavior problem that's completely preventable.
And they won't get taken anyway. Oh, this cat has a behavior problem. I don't want this one. So
Yeah. So it's a big deal, and we
Yeah.
need to do something about it. And we are doing something about it. And Michael, especially you're leading the way with this stuff, both in Arizona and the wider world, as people become aware and this grows out there. So I mean, good luck is all I could say, and I hope we achieve what you're trying to achieve, because I think this would help a lot of people, and more importantly for me, help a lot of cats.
Yes.
So let's we got to sort of wind down the show, and it is, the holiday season, right? So we are entering the holiday season, whether that's Christmas or Hanukkah or no holiday or a festive season, whatever you want to call it. People are generally celebrating something around this time of year after Thanksgiving, and now we enter this time of year in pretty much most countries. And so there's a few things that we always talk about. So we don't need to reiterate all the hazards, like keep the chocolate away from the cat, for God's sake. We must have said this like at least a dozen times over the shows. Different
away, keep the poinsettias away.
Yes, exactly. And we'll talk about chocolate again on Valentine's Day. But we got those basics down. The tree, obviously, the big piece of advice and analogy that Dr. Rachel has brought up in the past is, look, if you had a baby or a toddler at home, and there's a hazard in there that you'd be worried about the toddler injuring themselves, well, that's probably something to be mindful of if you have a cat, because they'll get into trouble, or they could potentially get into trouble. And then there's things like toxins that people completely ignore, like that frost, the beautiful trees that have that fake frosty snow on it. I mean, look, that's not going to be healthy for a human if they ingest it or if it gets in their lungs or whatever. So it's certainly going to be not healthy for a cat or even a dog or anything either. So those are sort of the basic things that we have. But and then there's the guests that come in. So to tie it into non-recognition syndrome, many people, I know Dr. Rachel likes to host, people in her house and all that. So many people will have, events where other people, I don't want to say strangers, because, ostensibly they're friends and family, but they might be kind of strangers to the cat.
Yeah.
Or they might be going out to a holiday party or reunion or some kind of fete or festivities, and bringing home some of that. So in this context of that, I'm assuming FNRA could be triggered by the cat because of all these new and unfamiliar smells. Is that right?
It could absolutely have an effect on the cat. People are coming into your house again that have different smells. You might go to other people's houses and you're coming back with different smells. And, we do that in our everyday lives anyway, but some cats are affected when there's a lot of it presented at once. They become overwhelmed. So, one different smelling thing, I can handle that. 12 different smelling things with all these voices and all this movement, that might be a different story. So I advise, this is what I do for my own cats, is to put them in a separate room, solid door closed. You don't have to worry about your guests coming in and out if you have indoor cats, and your cats will get out. You don't have to worry about guests who drop food on the floor or think, oh, kitty, you want this. They don't know what to feed or not feed your cat. So have them in a quiet room. Make sure they have everything they need, food, water, litter box, some toys. They'll only be in there for a few hours, most likely. But make sure they have what they need. Some people find that a white noise machine or playing a radio softly is helpful to drown out the excited voices and the gathering that's going on. But you want your cats to feel safe, and you don't want to have to worry about your cat ingesting something he shouldn't get to, or worse, getting out of the house.
Yeah. And then, of course, let's not forget the scented candles and perfumes and all of that. So it's not just the cooking smells and this. There's so many odors. Look, I mean, I would find it mildly distressing. So imagine a little innocent little kitty cat that,
whose
doesn't.
whole world is defined by scent.
Yeah, whose whole world is defined by scent and familiarity, routine and regularity. And now all of a sudden that's all out the window. Even though you might have done it last year, they don't remember that. So it just becomes a thing. Because it's like I always try to negotiate with Emily. I say, look, you've been going to the same vet around the same time of year, every single year for the last 13 years. I'm not surrendering you, because she panics and she behaves like I'm about taking her to some kill shelter, God forbid, which I would never do. And it's like I try to talk to her and say, I'm obviously never, I would send myself to the kill shelter to be hung or cremated before I send you. So it's not going to happen.
It's
And
not gonna happen.
even after all these years, a year, she doesn't remember. So, so it's the same thing with the Christmas.
If somebody put you in a cage and brought you to a strange place, you'd be calling the police. So,
I certainly would be.
Right. It was pretty scary.
Yeah, I think I saw that on a TV show. What was that? Oh yeah, Cobra Kai, the Karate Kid TV show. They tried one of the episodes to take Danny LaRusso, and they stuck him in a cage of all things. And he didn't have his cell phone, but he was the Karate Kid, so he was able to somehow break out and karate his way out of it, and against the bad guys. But still, yeah, I would definitely not be happy about that. Yeah. So, Michael, why don't we let you have sort of the last word as our guest today? So, is there anything you want to leave with our people?
My plea to people listening to this is spread the word. Look on the website. Get the materials you need so that you bring your cat home safely. If your vet is not, even if you love your vet, especially if you love your vet, is not warning people, take the materials, send him the letters, can be put into an email, and encourage him or her to give this information out when somebody brings in a cat as part of a multi-cat household, and encourage them to spread the word with their other vets. And let's just get the movement out there and get cat owners and vets educated about this, because nobody needs the stress, no matter how small it is. The pets don't need the stress, and the people like us don't need the stress.
That is absolutely true. So, Michael, I wanted to thank you very, very much for an enlightening, interesting, and fascinating episode today, learning about feline non-recognition aggression, or feline non-recognition syndrome, and what we can do about it. And, wish you, all the best and success in this endeavor to get it, officially,
Thank you.
On the books in Arizona, so that vets will be required to provide.
I want it to be worldwide. I mean,
I want it to be worldwide.
I want to spread the word. I have big ambitions on this, and so we're starting.
Yeah, well, it starts somewhere, and then hopefully it will be something that is worldwide and is adopted everywhere, because it's super important. And as Dr. Rachel and I say all the time, we want to keep cats in their homes, to help new cats find a loving home and keep cats in their home. And this is one way to do it, because I'm certain that a major reason that people surrender cats is because of this, is because the cats are not getting along. They bring the cat home, and the cats aren't getting along. I've seen it just, in the last year, somebody brought a new sort of young cat or kitten home, and the existing cat, well, they're just not getting along. So that cat is going to have to go. And that's just sad. That's just sad, because why? There's stuff that you can do about it. And we've touched on some of it now, and we can touch on more of it now. So perhaps it's not only vets that should be putting information, warnings, or disclaimer, whatever you want to call it, giving the information on, but also maybe adoption centers and shelters should be doing that as well, because when you're adopting a new cat, there should be a slight warning telling you, well, look, if you have an animal at home already, you should be aware that there's a risk of this, but don't worry, here's what you can do about it.
And I have more shelters who are using my video, because I work with so many shelters. That's one of my main things that I do. And they'll send people to me for help if they adopt a newcomer and there's problems between the resident cat and the newcomer. And I always tell these shelters, we can walk it back. I can help these people, but it'd be so much better if you had them watch the video before they take the cat home. So I have many shelters now who have my cat-to-cat reintroduction and introduction video, and are requiring their adopters and their fosters to watch the video first. So I think, all of these kind of missions that we're all doing and getting that information out there is so important.
I mean, that's exactly what happened with us when we were under our extreme stress. A friend of ours, the person I call the cat's godmother who lives in Michigan, referred us to a woman at the anticruelty.org in Chicago. And as she learned about it, she realized that their own shelter there probably wasn't doing the best job. So similar to what Dr. Geller just mentioned, they actually changed their procedures. And that's part of what I have in front of the Arizona Veterinary Board. But you're absolutely right, Justin. It needs to be vets and shelters as well. And
breeders and anywhere where a cat is, being adopted or moved or any motion or changes with a cat. And that's great. And of course, with your legal, with your background, you're looking at it from a sort of ordinances, legislation point. How can we get this to be a requirement? And then, Dr. Rachel is looking at it from an educational, how can we educate everyone about this? And now I'm looking at it from how can we spread the word maximally about this? So we're all kind of in our niches doing our bits, and together I think we can make something happen. So thank you very much, Michael, and I wish you all the best, and of course happy holidays, because that's the time of year we're at. Dr. Rachel, it's always awesome to see you and to get your wisdom and insights into the cat psyche and soul. So thank you very much, Dr. Rachel. I wish you the happiest of holidays, and we'll see you in 2025.
See you next year.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Well, Meow Mentors, that was our special holiday episode, and we met Michael, who taught us about feline non-recognition and what to do about it and all of that. And, it's not a hopeless cause. You can keep your cat, and can't we just all get along? Yes, they can. And so that was awesome. Next month, we'll be in the New Year's, so we'll talk a lot about that kind of stuff and all of that. So make sure you tune in next month, where we'll see you. This is Justin, and this is the Kitty Boss, where we pick, pamper, and protect your practically perfect pussycat for a lifetime of unconditional love.